Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Bear City Biz. This is your friend Veronica Castro, and today I have a special guest, Mr. Tariko Satterfield. He is not only an innovator, he's the founder of Exposure Mentor Academy. He's also a conferencist. He has been impacting the youth for over 20 years. He's been coaching over 15,000 young adults. And today we're going to go over different topics and all the different projects that he's working on. But before, Tariko, welcome to the Bird City Biz.
Man, thank you so much, Veronica, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Such an honor.
Oh, thank you. And just to give you some perspective, guys, I met Tariko through Clubhouse. That's the new app where you meet people and you listen to how these great leaders like Tariko start like creating all these ideas and create the chain of value that today we have in our environment. And the program that Tariko has been working has been impacting so many lives. And I think he's been shaping a lot of people. However, we have right now the pandemic that's going on, and he's going to provide us many solutions. But before we start, Tariko, can you tell us your story? How did your passion to start impacting the youth started? How did you start like growing that passion for teaching and mentoring?
Well, Veronica, thank you. What an awesome question. When you do the kind of work that I do, which is to encourage, impact, advise young people, that can't start from anywhere but your own experience. I grew up and had many struggles growing up. I grew up in poverty. I grew up with a whole bunch of odds stacked against me. My company's slogan at Real Life Empire is truth over facts. And the reason I chose that as a slogan is because so many young people, the facts and the statistics say that they will not be successful because of their upbringing. Maybe they're an immigrant coming in the United States, or maybe they come out of poverty. And there's so many statistics that surround them and that tries to forecast a future for them. And that was me growing up. So I had this forecasted future that I didn't agree with. And because I didn't agree with it, I had to find out the truth about the opportunity that was in front of me. When I was able to identify that truth, that I could be successful, even though I grew up in a single parent home, that I could be successful, even though I struggled through school, that I could be successful, that success was still in my future if I desired it and if I would be willing to do the work. So as soon as I found that out, and as soon as I was able to figure it out myself, I said, there are a lot of Tarikos out there in the world. I got to help them figure it out.
Absolutely. And let me ask you a question. When we think about leadership, many times we want to see leadership through the lens of a corporate world, but you have chosen the youth. Why the youth?
So the youth are one of our greatest assets, Veronica. You know, when I look at the corporate world and businesses and the structures that we've created, the systems we've created to add value to products and society, I look at the young people and I say that every corporate CEO or CFO, COO, all of them were children once. All of them were kids once. And sometimes what happens is, along our journey in the corporate world, we lose that youthful side of us that is creative, that is innovative, that actually is not worried about everybody else's opinion. And so I believe that at a young age, young people have gifted areas that they are excited about, Veronica, and they want to get into it and they're not afraid, they're fearless. Why not grab them at that age and give them the tools that they need? We want to expose them to what they want to be, and we want to equip them with the tools that they need so they can execute the life that they dream of. Why not do it at a young age?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you because it's been proven that when they are little, they can even speak multiple languages. They start developing all these different skills. And something that resonates with me is why not when they are little? Like, and I'm curious, I know you have your own tribe, your
That,
own kids.
that's right.
And what do you do different to nurture that creativity and that leadership skills with your kids?
Thank you so much. Also, a great question, Veronica. I happen to be blessed to be married to an artist. My wife is a mural artist, and so creativity lives in our house. It's in everything that we do. My children are painting, are drawing, are doing role plays every single day of their lives. And I enjoy the role playing, and so much so that I join in. My wife joins in. We dance, we sing. My background is musical theater. I went to
Mm.
college on a full scholarship to sing. So the fine arts and the arts are something that we not just that we believe in, it's who we are. Why? Because in that realm, you create levels of intelligence. You create access, and I believe portals where other people may be constricted and stuck in one area. But if you give me a role, if you tell me, Tariko, I need you to be this, I can switch it on and create it.
Mm.
My wife, if you tell her you want to see something, switch it on and create it. So my children, the same thing. I emphasize in my house with my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old problem solving. So they say, Daddy, Daddy, I got a problem. I got a problem, Daddy, Daddy. I say, come here. Tell me what's your problem. And I let them tell me the problem. And the next question I have for them is, okay, now you're a problem solver. Notice what I say. I tell them you're a problem solver. I empower their mindset to be problem solvers. I say, you're a problem solver.
Mm.
So tell me what you think you can do to solve this problem. And if they tell me they don't know, I say, no problem. It's okay that you don't know. Let's think about it together.
Mm-hmm.
Now I join them in the problem solving, but I coach them and guide them to what their solution is, not give them one.
Okay.
And the more I do that, you train the leader, you build that confidence, you build that self-esteem, that self-efficacy. And so now my 6-year-old daughter, she doesn't need me to fix her breakfast. She's been fixing her own breakfast since she was 5. She knows how to do everything.
That's
And so
beautiful.
it encourages that leadership and that independence, that independent thinking too.
Let me ask you a question. How do you balance the digital world with the leadership skills that you want to build in your kids? Because I know that's today's challenge, right? Many
Mhm.
parents, they both work, or for the single parents, and even now, homeschooling is basically something that many people has been doing for the last 12 months. But
Mhm.
what is the correct balance between embracing the tools and the digital world and also nurturing those leadership skills?
Veronica, I'm not a by the book guy. I don't know if you recognize that I'm very innovative. So
Yeah,
when it
you're a creator. That's why we're
I'm a
here.
I'm a creator. So what I do with my children is probably totally different. I'm one of those people who believe that I see as a businessman, I see where society is going. And so where people say there has to be a balance, the question is what are we actually balancing? Because so many people are fighting um, technology, right? We want to run away from it. We say
Mhm.
that the kids are not getting smarter from it. Their intellect is being reduced. Well, I say it's all about exposure, and it's all about what kids are doing on their devices.
Mm.
So, how are you? What I do as a parent, and what I like to challenge parents with, how do you use the device as an asset versus it being a liability in your home? Because for me, with my children, I don't have a problem with you watching the device. But right now, for this hour, we're gonna learn our alphabet. And then daddy's gonna sit down and we're gonna do it together and we can watch the same video. So how do you take the device, the digital world that we know we're moving towards, and how do you utilize it? It has to become an asset in our minds before it's ever an asset to our children. If it's a liability to us, then it'll be a liability with your children. So I teach my children how to use this digital space. I'll give you an example. My 6-year-old daughter, she wants to start her own vlogs. I'm not going to tell her no, because for me, she's trying to move into her entrepreneurial ventures. So I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say, so let's sit down and let's write down what you would like to do on your vlogs. Here's the opportunity for me to educate her. Here's the opportunity for me to do reading and writing. Here's the opportunity for me to do verb tenses. So most people will fight that and say, you're too young. You're not doing that. Instead of seeing the gift that's given to you, it's a new portal and a new opportunity for you to train a child.
That's beautiful. And I love what you say. Let's use it as an asset. All the
That's right.
digital tools. I know there are so many for coding, for learning science, math. Even right now, many of the schools have their virtual ports. And I think there should be maybe a balance, but the parents, if they don't know what the tools are and what they could use to have those as an asset, do you think there's some sort of a training that's lacking from the parents, or there is any gap of using technology that should be bridged?
Listen, I definitely, as a former educator, um, and done a lot of work around family engagement. One of the things that I encourage parents and I encourage school districts, that just because you distribute information does not mean that you are engaging your audience. Okay. So we can send out information, but engagement is when people show up,
Hmm.
when people participate. So we have to do a better job at making sure we're not just looking to distribute, and we want to make sure we are engaged. Okay. Think about what an engagement is in a relationship. When I engage, when we get engaged, then it's a committal. I'm committing for the long journey with you versus distribution. Okay. So, parents, I would like to, one, encourage the parents to, one, advocate for yourself. If you don't understand, it's okay for you not to understand, and it's okay for you to ask for help. Every school district should have by now um, engagement centers. We need to start moving towards, just like there's social media influencers, we need to have education influencers and
Wow.
people that are willing to influence the parents, encourage the parents. I did a program when I worked in the school called Raising Readers. And what I would do with that program was I would go into communities and I would get a group of 10 parents to come and sit with me and go through a curriculum with their children on how to raise a reader.
Hmm.
And you'd be shocked at how many people showed up.
Wow.
They'll show up if you come to where they are. So it's important for us to, again, learn how to engage each other. Parents engage in the schools, and schools engage in the parents.
I love how you phrase it, engagement versus distribution. Sometimes we think more about, yeah, well, they got an email.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't understand the content. Maybe
Mhm.
there's some barrier language that people is not aware. And then the kids are on their own, right? There is not support, or maybe they feel alone.
Veronica, you know, like I know that even when you translate, so a district may translate in Spanish, and they think that because they translated in Spanish, Spanish has so many different dialects,
True.
right? And
Yeah.
just because you translate in Spanish don't necessarily mean you're translating in a dialect that every Spanish speaking family understands. And yes, they may be able to relate to it, but I tell people what's critical is, have you asked and learned who your families are? It's business, right? We need to know who our customers are.
Right.
And so the same thing in the schools. Who are your customers? If your customers have 80 something languages, then guess what? You've got to have 80 something languages.
True. Yeah.
And that's how we have alignment and engagement.
And that, I love it. I really do. I mean, it just resonates with me. And one thing that comes to mind when we talk about the lack of engagement, no, in a sense that that's something that they're experiencing. Why do you think many teenagers feel alone, feel that they are not understood? Because I feel that, and I heard that from many parents, friends, those that have kids, it's like, oh, they're in a difficult age. And that's the definition, right? They're in a difficult age. And it's like a pattern. So my question is, why is that difficult? Why couldn't it be enjoyable?
Well, let's look at that. I call that age um, the exploration age,
Oh.
because really what's happening is our teens are explorers, and what they really are doing is seeking to discover themselves, discover their own territory,
Hmm.
discover where they fit, discover who is for them and who is against them. So they're on this exploration expedition, is what I like to call it. And what happens, what we show up as, are people who have equipment and tools.
Mm.
And the hardest thing for teenagers, and we've all been through that phase and that age, but some kind of way, everybody forgets that we've been there. We forget that we've been in that same place.
True.
And so we lose that empathy for them. We say, they just teenagers. Ah, you know how teenagers are. And all that is a condescending statement about this time frame that could actually be so beautiful. And this time frame that could actually cause your teen to blossom and evolve into something that you dream of them being. And so I think there has to be a mindset shift for us as adults about this time frame, and we have to figure out how to again engage them, to expose them to right information, to really be intentional about our pursuit of them through this time. Even though they push us away, even though they say they don't want the structure, we know that the science out there says that they still long for structure.
Mm.
Veronica, I want to tell you one thing. I had a teenager one time, Veronica,
Okay.
who sat in my office, and she said to me, Mr. Sat is what they call me, Mr. Sat. She said, Mr. Sat, do you know how bad I want my parents to tell me no? And I
Mm.
said, excuse, I said, what? I said, excuse me?
Just like my head is spinning
Yeah,
now.
my head didn't comprehend that. I said, say that again. And she said, I want my parents to tell me no. And I said, tell me more. She said, they say yes to me about so many things that I don't understand boundaries. And I don't know
Um,
what I shouldn't be doing because they never tell me no about things. And in that moment was a wow. That was a wow moment for me. This teenager that is struggling and having such a hard time in school. The reason she's having a hard time is because she, exactly what she said, she knows it. I don't have any boundaries. So
mm.
no adult in my life has taken the time to actually give me boundaries. They think that I don't want it, so they've let me go. And how many times as parents do we get in that place where our teenagers are not listening, so we just let, you'll figure it out,
Yeah.
right? And that's a scary place to be for a teenager. They're longing for our structure.
Absolutely. And one thing that comes to mind is that it's literally the last stage before they leave home, right? Whether it's for college and they become young adults or they get into a relationship and then they leave home. And my perception is that doesn't matter where, because I've seen this happening in Latin America, across the world, right? When they leave home, sometimes they leave bitter, like they leave unhappy with a bad relationship. And this is when now they feel the right that I don't want my parents in my life. They, like you're
Right.
saying, they separate in a way that I don't want to have this.
That's
And
right.
and I think we need to, like, my question comes from a place of how can we heal together and start repairing those relationships that right now, I mean, even all of us, we feel that what's happening across the world, right, with the pandemic, I mean, we all have that sense of emotional stress. So I cannot imagine someone who not only it's in the expedition phase, right, but at the same time it's like I feel alone on my journey.
Mhm. Well, I think, Veronica, we have to, and I'm sure you've heard of growth mindset. We have to have a growth mindset. Um, especially I tell people, when you have an intentional and desired outcome, then your movement, your words, the things that you do have to be precise. You have to have some precision. And if you have precision in, okay, I want my daughter, I give you an example, I want my daughter to love business.
Mm.
So what do? I don't tell her what I want her to do with business. I find out what she loves and likes and talk to her about businesses related to what she loves and likes. Once I acquaint her with something that she loves and business, then I'm intentional about helping her have a great time doing these things that she loves with business.
Mm.
Now, the more she has that time and the more she's there and she's connected to that, then guess what? The more she connects a good time to business and this thing that I love. So now my 6-year-old gets up and says, "Hey, Dad, we hadn't watched a young CEO video in a long time."
Oh.
Oh, watch it. My bad, honey. We can watch one right now. Now I'm not asking her to watch the videos. She's asking me to watch the videos. It's on her radar. And so what we're doing is we're cultivating a experience for her. So with young people, we always have to think about the experience. Young people do not look at outcomes. They look at the experience in now. We are more concerned
Mm.
about the data, right? And the outcomes. The young people are concerned about, did I have fun? Was the food good? Were my friends there? Will I do it again? Are we going to be able to do this again?
Wow. That's amazing. This is like you're opening this whole new universe for me. And I think we're going back to the basics, what you just said about engagement, right? If we talk
Yes,
about the engagement with the school and the parents and the students, then that's a relationship that needs to be nurtured. Now, if we talk about experience, I never saw from that perspective, but one thing that comes to mind and resonates is how business are. Today, businesses are about experience and
that's right.
emotion, right? So if you understand that those need to be cultivated at home, then that's a completely different mindset and set of rules and strategies that could be implemented at home.
Veronica, I want you to think about something with me.
Okay.
I tell the school system this all the time. We say that kids don't like structure, but you take a kid to Disney and they'll stand in a line for an hour. For 1 hour, they'll stand in line to ride one ride.
True.
They'll
Yeah.
leave that line and they'll go and get in another line for an hour, just standing there to ride one ride. Why would they do that? Why?
Because they
Because
want it so bad.
they're excited about the experience they're going to have on that ride.
Mm.
And so when they are excited about the experience that they're going to have, they'll do anything. But we have to make sure that we are creating these experiences for them, not the ones that we want them to have. We have to find out what's a fun experience for you. My daughters hit the car with me and I say, we're going to Rita's to get Italian ice. And they're like, I'm going. Hurry up, Dad. Now, if I say to them, hey guys, get in the car. We're going to go watch this football game with Daddy. No, Dad, I'm staying at home. I don't want to go watch football. What is the difference?
Right.
Interest and experience.
I love it. I really do. And I know behind all this great knowledge that you're sharing with us, there is a mission. And your mission is to impact 1 million parents, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In the last 20 years, you have impacted and coached through conferences, presentations, all the gifts that you give us, around 15,000 youth, 15,000 young adults that you have been coaching and mentoring. And your latest academy, right? The
Yes.
Exposure Mentor Academy. Tell us about that.
So I am a innovative thinker kind of always. And one of the things that I've seen over these 20 years of me working with young people in different states, because I started out working with young people in my home state, which is in Alabama. And then I moved to Florida, started some youth organizations there. And now I live in Connecticut. And I've started programs here for the last 14, 15 years. And so one of the things that has been consistent for me is continuing to hear the lack of representation in mentorship and for mentors and the lack of commitment. When the pandemic happened, something that was vitally important for me because I had a mentor was solving this problem of mentorship and coaching. I had a conversation with my oldest two. My oldest is 14. He'll be 15 in November.
Mm-hmm.
And my oldest daughter, she's 13. And I had conversations with them. And I said to them, guys, when schools have mentor programs, who do they give the mentors to? Like, do you feel like it's for all the kids, or do you feel like it's for the at-risk population of students? And they were like, Dad, we don't get mentors. I said, why do you think you don't get a mentor? And they said, because we got straight A's in school, Dad. So people would say we don't need a mentor. They don't really provide mentors. It's usually for the kids that get in trouble. And so
Wow.
what happened for me is I started to think about that. And what I thought about was during the pandemic, doctors, lawyers, nurses, all of these people were called out to the front lines. And their kids were still having to do school.
Right.
So instantly what hit me was, so who's mentoring and who's helping those kids now?
True.
Now, we know that all the schools were hiring people to deal with their at-risk population, but who's helping the kids of the parents who are successful or
Mm-hmm.
not struggling? And so I said, you know what? I'm used to creating programs for the at-risk population. And what actually triggered it for me is an organization called Masterclass. They have a concept out there. I don't know if you've heard of it. They have a
Mm-hmm.
concept where Serena Williams, Steph Curry, and all these people are teaching everyday people how to do what they do.
Oh, yes, yes. I've seen the commercials. Yes.
So I've always been an advocate for youth. I run a youth development company. And I said to
Mm-hmm.
myself, why does that not exist for young people?
Right.
So I started reaching out to some friends of mine who are connected to the industry, and having conversations with them about some ideas I had. And they were like, Tariko, that's a phenomenal idea. So I birthed the Exposure Mentor Academy. So the Exposure Mentor Academy is to give young people the opportunity to be trained and cultivated by elite mentors, celebrities, businessmen, and businesswomen who have attained and achieved multiple levels of success in business. And now these young people get to sit down with them and listen to videos that they create for them. But also I'm going a step further, and I'm asking each person once a year to provide a question and answer session with the young people. So they get
Nice.
to actually ask those questions to these celebrities.
That's beautiful.
So that's what the platform is. If people want to sign up, they can go to exposurementoracademy.com and pre-register their kids. We're going to be registered in school districts. Right now, I'm looking for 10 students from 100 middle schools and 10 students from 100 high schools.
Okay, we can make it happen.
We're going to
Spell
make that
solutions.
happen.
Yes, I want to help you on that cause. We need to start giving the tools to our youth so
We,
they're going to lead the economy of tomorrow. And even today, there are many young entrepreneurs.
who's going to sit in your seat, Veronica? Who's going to continue diversity biz? Who's
Well,
going
let me tell you, I would more than happy to pass on the torch to someone who wants to carry on with the mission, because the goal is to bring all these great leaders and
to?
innovators. But that's a good question. That's a very good question. Thank you.
Well, we have to, and that question comes from, I was trying to open up a YMCA in my in the city I used to live in. It
Okay.
had been closed for 10 years. And the councilman that supported me came out with me, showed me the property, showed me the building. And as we were walking through the property, he was about 67 years old. And he said to me, you know, Tariko, I'm going to be retiring soon. And I was like, wow. I said, that's interesting that you mentioned that as we walked through here. And I looked at him and said, can I ask you a question? He said, What's that? I said, who's going to sit in your seat when you're gone? And he said, what do you mean? I said, what young person have you prepared to sit in your seat and take over and continue the legacy, continue the work that you've put in all these years for? I said, because when I think about this YMCA, I think about I stand in this room and I stand in this YMCA with all of my ancestors who prepared and paved the way for me to be here today. And so
Mm.
there's a legacy that I'm carrying, and there's some value in that, and me standing in it and producing for the next generation so that they understand the importance of honoring your legacy, honoring your history, honoring those who have contributed to the success that we're living today. So we always have to be thinking about who are the people that are prepared to sit in your seat and not just do your job, but do a better job than you did.
That's such a thoughtful perspective. I never thought about it, but I really like it's a solution too, right? If you want to carry on with the mission, you
That's
need
right.
to be able to pass on the baton and have the next generation taking the lead on that.
That's
Wow,
right.
that's amazing. And well, we're gonna definitely share the website, Exposure Mentor Academy. I know I've seen your website. I took a sneak peek, and I know you have many athletes that are part of that. So, guys, really, this
Yes.
is a solution to your many headaches. Okay, we need to build this great relationship with our future leaders. We need to give them the tools, and we need to understand them and come from a place of compassion, gratitude, and build all those great values.
Yeah, be on the lookout, guys, because I know Veronica's going to be on there too. So,
Yes, yes, he told me that. And honestly, I want to bring this bilingual community because
yes,
we need to
yes.
expand. We need to expand all the greatness that we have today. We have to nurture ourselves with solutions. And that's definitely something that we're going to share. Now, I know, Tariko, you are such a great ambassador of diversity, equity, and inclusion
Yes.
because you and your wife have this weekly program, and this is such a different type of program because it's basically an interracial couple that
Hmm.
you discuss different difficult conversations, which is basically breaking the barriers and opening a new perspective. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I guess, again, creation and innovation is married to who we are. And so, one of the things that we started to see, we've been married 7 years, but in the journey of those 7 years, in our home, we start to see the differences, and you start to experience when people say diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, we live this on a daily basis because not only do we have biracial children, we also have black children. My oldest two are black. And so we always have to consider in our conversations, we always have to consider what's being said, what we're teaching, making sure we're teaching value from both ends of the spectrum, making sure we're embracing the whole of our family, and making sure that everybody's voice is heard, making sure everybody feels valued in our home on a regular basis, making sure that we understand how to celebrate each other's differences.
Wow, it's
And
amazing.
so our show is just that. We take this interracial family and blend that we have that has not always been easy, that actually has had some difficulty. And we share those difficulties with our fans and our followers and the people who are seeking to learn this information to add value to their lives, which adds value to the community. We believe, we always say on our broadcast that we're creating the new world.
Yes.
So we love that.
You guys are creating a new world, a new perspective. And I think living in a country where we have over 100 something languages spoken. I know once I did a research. So in the Metro of New York, there are over 97 languages spoken simultaneously.
Think about that.
Yes. So imagine you're just waiting for your ride, and then there's people speaking all these different languages and dialects, and this is just around you. You didn't have to leave your country. You are right there in the middle of diversity.
How beautiful is that, though? You know,
You
you
know?
think about that and what that means. Like, I think about what I'm able to learn and embody from 97 different languages and cultures. That's so vast and so rich. And when we get down to that experience for each individual, if we would just allow ourselves to experience half of that, it would make the world a better place. Because then you have an opportunity to see that love looks different.
Absolutely. Yes, and that needs to be nurtured when, the earlier the better. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question, Darico.
Mhm.
So, if you were to choose the list of skills that teenagers, young adults, even children should be offered on their school curriculum, is there anything in particular that you would suggest?
Oh, great question, Veronica. Yo, listen, I don't know if you guys are watching this all the time, but doesn't Veronica have the greatest questions? So let me see. So I think I would say one is definitely uh, creativity. Creativity needs to be at the top of the list. And when I say creativity, I know I can hear people say, well, how do you teach creativity? Well, let them paint more. Allow children to fail forward. So creativity is what I say when I say experience. Experience means that I say to my clients when I train clients, because I'm a trainer, a personal trainer, I say to them, I want you to train so hard that you fail.
Hmm.
I don't want you to come here thinking about messing up. I want you to mess up. Because if you're messing up, then you're giving me everything you have. Kids need to be allowed to give everything that they have in the school. So what I recommend doing so that we can utilize this creativity is gift assessments. Having gift assessments for families or for kids when they come in that we're able to do so that we can lock in on what their gifted area is. Then when we know their gifted area, we can feed that. Okay? The other thing that I recommend is financial literacy. Because so many people, myself included, I remember being in elementary school and getting a bank account. And at that moment, that was the opportunity for me to learn that I can financially invest in my future. And most people don't have that opportunity.
Hmm.
And so those terms, stocks and bonds and all those things, economics, we need to start making that a part of our children's vernacular. Me and my kids, we do financial lessons at home.
Mhm.
We're always playing with money at home. Why? Because I want them to understand that they need to have a healthy relationship with money, not be fearful of it, but have a healthy relationship with it. And so I teach my children how to have a healthy relationship with money. So we need to teach that in the schools as well. The other thing that I say is leadership development. Because if we teach children how to lead, not just expect them to, because people do what you inspect, not what you expect.
Hmm.
I'm going to say that again. People do what you inspect, not what you expect. If we teach them leadership skills and have a system that holds them accountable and guides them each step of the way, then we don't have to be so stressed out when they are little teenagers, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
we know we've given them and gifted them the opportunity to learn these things, and we don't have to be so nervous about them failing along the way, because we
Mhm.
taught that. We taught
Yeah.
them about resilience already.
Yeah,
We
and I
taught
love that.
we taught them about grit, Veronica.
Yes. And failure doesn't need to be negative.
It does not.
We like failure is part of life, and there are things that we are going to face regardless. And I think resilience, even emotional resilience, now that we are coming out of a tough 2020 where many lives have been lost, and how do we recover? And that's what I actually looked up, and I started working on my resilience after my dad passed away,
Oh,
because I
sorry
wanted
about
to turn, thank you, but I wanted to turn his life and the loss that I had into something positive. And that got me thinking on to what's my legacy? What
yeah.
do I want to leave? Right. And that's also a way to honor him regardless. So it is definitely something that I embrace. And let me ask a question about, well, you have the upcoming you have classes that you are given virtual. If the parents want to contact you virtually, on do you do like any coaching for people that are outside the state?
Yes. So if people want to set up a coaching time with me, they can either email me at Tariko Satterfield at reallifeempire.com,
Okay.
or they can contact me 860-215-1758. People always say to me, "You're giving out your cell phone number?" Yes. Yes. They say, Tariko, they tell me, Veronica, they say, Tariko, you're crazy. I said, no, I just want to help people. That's it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're gonna share your number and your contact info after we publish the this live. And one last question about, some parents are getting nervous
Yeah.
to go back to school. You know, there is this whole different point of views about the vaccine, whether it's working or not. But I think that the children, the youth, they want to go back to school because they want to recover their social life, and that's also something that is part of being a part of a society, right? Belonging somewhere. Do you have any tips on how not only parents but also those that are having a hard time understanding what's happening outside, how they could be like maybe developing skills that will help them get that peace of mind back?
Veronica, another excellent question. I experienced both sides of this. When the pandemic first happened, me being an educator at the time, I was working in the schools, and I had a 5-year-old at home that was supposed to be going to kindergarten, and I didn't want her experience to be what it was going to be as a kindergarten, her first experience to be that. So we decided to homeschool initially.
Mm.
Um, there were concerns about for us as a family about the pandemic, um, but then we actually started to pay attention to. My daughter is a lot like her father, and
Mm.
she loves interacting. She loves talking to people. So what we started to recognize was that there was this opportunity to socialize that was missing from her experience. And so we thought it was unfair. And even thinking about the pressure that was on my wife to now be a teacher,
Mm.
and stay up to date on her work and her assignments and make sure that she's getting everything that she needs. There's a lot of pressure with parents. So the one thing that I want to say this word to every parent out there, to every young person out there, to every educator out there. The word right now of the hour is grace. The word of the hour right now is grace. What do you mean, Tariko? I mean, give yourself a break. Seriously, it is hard if you decide to send them to school. There's emotional stuff that's connected to that for you as a parent and being able to protect your child. We understand it. Be gracious with yourself as you take those steps through this, because there is not a perfect answer for people who are okay with sending their kids and some are not.
Mm.
We have to be gracious with ourselves to learn through this journey. Like we said about our teenagers earlier, that they are in this place of exploration where we as a society right now are explorers,
Yeah.
because we're chartering territory that we've never encountered before. So technically, you may as well say we're one because last year was our first year
Right.
doing it.
Right.
And so when you think about being a 1 year old, what does that what does that look like? Well,
We're
I can
still
tell
baby
you,
steps.
yeah, baby steps. Laugh at yourself a little bit. Give yourself a break.
Right.
And here's the other thing. Don't put pressure on yourself about your decision. Okay? I decided at one point it was best for my daughter to be home. Then halfway through the year, we decided it was best for her to go to school.
Mm.
Well, we had kept her away from COVID, and little did we know she got COVID.
Mm.
And so now this thing that you were afraid of and fearful of, it's here. And the scariest thing in that moment was she tested positive for COVID, and none of us tested positive. Now I'm in schools every day, all day. And so, of course, as a parent, you start having the dialogue in your head. Did we do the right thing sending her to school?
Hmm.
Well, when I look at my daughter and what she gained from being in that environment and from being in school, I can tell you this: when COVID was over, do you think she was like, I'm not going back to school? Nah, she was like that. So can I go to school now?
I need to see my friends.
Right. And everything in me was like, I don't know. And she was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
she didn't fall in love with COVID. She fell in love with people.
yeah.
And so I think we need to remind ourselves that with kids, that going to school is not for our young people is not just about COVID, but it's also about their mental health. Those relationships that they carry in schools and that contact that they have helps them deal with things, deal with issues. And so it's important for us to value that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's such a great advice. And my last question: what does Tariko use as a hack or a tool in order to keep up with the emotional health and have your sanity? Because ever since I talked to you, you have this beautiful energy. You're always in a happy place. And I love that. So if you could share your hacks, what do you do to keep that awesome energy?
So first of all, I cannot reduce or put down. I'm a man of faith, and that is paramount for me. Like I believe in, I quiet myself every morning. Every morning, I start my day with prayer. I start my day with gratitude and thankfulness, um, finding something to say thank you about. And I believe that when you put gratitude and thanksgiving out there,
Mm.
then you open up the world and you see things totally different. When we look at and find value in the minimal things like breath in our bodies, when we find value in that, we're able to get up and walk to our bathroom. I'll never forget one of my parents while I was meeting with him. He was an amputee. And this particular day, Veronica, he saw something in me and he called it out. You know, you're a professional. He called this thing out of me while I'm there on his visit. And he says, "What's going on with you, Mr. Sack?" And I said, "What do you mean? Nothing. I'm fine." And he said, "No, I can tell. Your light is dim today," is what he said to me.
Oh,
And I said, "It is?" So
really?
let me perk it up. But what he said to me, Veronica, was it never left me. I told him, I said, "I think today I'm missing my children."
Mm.
And he said, "That's interesting." He said, "You're missing your children and I'm missing my leg." And he said, "We're all missing something."
Mm.
And I just sat there in that moment and really paused to reflect and think about what he was saying. He said, "We're all missing something, but we all have so much to be thankful for." He said, "You can either focus on what you're missing or give thanks that you have children."
Mm.
And I said, I started to weep. And I told him, I said, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you because you're struggling. And you have this kind of light and love in you that you're going to give to me when you're in need. And he said, "My friend, you give to me every time you come because I'm missing things." And he said, "And when you come, I don't miss a thing. I have Thanksgiving because you're here." And that visit, it floored me, changed me, and reset my mind all on missing things. So I want to encourage everybody that's watching, Veronica, watching you, to not focus on what you're missing, but focus on what you're thankful for. Show gratitude. Thank you, Veronica, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Tariko. It's a gift having you as a guest. It's a gift to be learning all these different tools and information that you have shared with us and the wisdom that you have been bringing of over 20 years of experience. And I'm more than happy to join your endeavor. Please count me in.
Yeah.
And, and if you have any final words for our audience or parents out there, the mic is all yours.
Hey, listen, guys, I just want to encourage you to follow Veronica.
Oh,
Listen, Anybody who can go out and find gifts to share with you, then they must be a gift themselves, because we don't attract anything but what we are. And so I want to encourage every listener to make sure you're tuning in every single week. Every time you see diversity biz come up, make sure you click that link and do us a favor. Share it with a friend. Be a blessing to a friend, because maybe they couldn't watch it and maybe they're dependent on you to share this information that you received today. So share this information, and I look forward to helping all of you guys add value to young people, to parents, and to diversity biz.
Yes, welcome to
Yeah,
the family. And thank you so much, Tariko. We're going to share all your information. Like Tariko said, please share this information. Join the Exposure Mentor Academy. He has all these awesome programs. Let's build our youth. Let's build our future leaders. This is a collective work. And
that's right.
doesn't matter where you are. Okay. Even if you're in Australia, you are somewhere in Europe, let's connect. And Tariko, he just expressed all his different ideas. He's a problem solver, and he's given us all the gifts. So, Tariko, once again, thank you so much. We're
Thank
definitely going to do another episode. I would love to have you back in the house of the Bird City.
Let's do it. Let's do
All
it.
right, let's do it. All right, well, thank you today. And until next time, bye, my friend.